Have you ever wondered if your marriage isn't reflecting what God intended it to be? Not because God has abandoned you, but because somewhere along the way, the relationship drifted away from His design. In today's video, we'll look at 7 biblical warning signs that your marriage may need God's healing and restoration. And make sure you stay until the end, because sign number 7 is the one many Christians overlook, even though it can change the direction of a marriage. Welcome back to The Aligned Christian. Marriage is one of God's greatest gifts. It was created to reflect Christ's love, unity, and faithfulness. But even sincere Christians can build a marriage on emotion instead of wisdom, on pressure instead of prayer, or on fear instead of faith. The good news is this: no matter where your marriage is today, God specializes in restoring what seems broken. Let's begin. Sign number 1. You rarely seek God together. A healthy Christian marriage doesn't require perfection, but it should move both husband and wife toward Christ. If praying together, reading Scripture together, or seeking God's direction together has become something you constantly avoid, it's worth asking why. Spiritual distance rarely stays spiritual. Eventually, it affects communication, trust, and intimacy. Sign number 2, you feel spiritually alone. One of God's purposes for marriage is mutual encouragement and faith. If you're pursuing Christ while your spouse consistently shows no interest in growing spiritually, that loneliness can become deeper over time. Pray for them, encourage them, but don't ignore the warning signs. Sign number 3, your relationship began with compromise instead of conviction. Did you overlook biblical wisdom because you were afraid of being alone? Did you ignore clear red flags because you thought marriage would fix them? Fear often pushes us to make decisions that faith would have waited to make. God never calls us to compromise His truth just to avoid loneliness. Sign number 4, your lives are moving in opposite spiritual directions. The Bible says, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. 2 Corinthians 6:14. This verse reminds us that shared faith isn't a small detail. It's the foundation of biblical marriage. If one spouse is sincerely pursuing Christ while the other continually resists Him, that creates a spiritual divide that shouldn't be ignored. Sign number 5, your relationship with God is slowly growing weaker. Sometimes this happens subtly. You pray less. You stop serving. You stop attending church consistently. Not because you don't love God, but because your marriage is constantly pulling you away from Him. Anything that consistently weakens your walk with Christ deserves your attention. Sign number 6, control has replaced mutual submission. God never designed marriage around power. He designed it around sacrificial love. Ephesians teaches that husbands and wives are called to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. If one spouse always controls, always demands, and never serves, that reflects control, not God's design for marriage. Sign number 7, your marriage continually produces fear instead of drawing you closer to God's peace. Every marriage faces difficult seasons, but when anxiety becomes your constant companion, it's time to bring your relationship honestly before the Lord. Philippians 4 reminds us that God's peace guards our hearts when we bring everything to Him in prayer. That doesn't mean every difficult marriage is outside God's will, but it does mean every struggling marriage needs God's wisdom. Now let me leave you with this. If you recognized one or more of these signs, don't respond with guilt. Respond with prayer. The goal isn't to decide whether your marriage is hopeless. The goal is to invite God into the places that need healing, because no marriage is beyond His ability to restore. If this message encouraged you, comment "Restore" below. I'd love to pray for you. And if you want more biblical teaching on marriage, faith, and Christian living, subscribe to The Aligned Christian. Next week, we'll talk about how to know whether God is restoring your marriage and what your role is in that process. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.